Okay, ladies, in this video here, we're going to talk about sleep cycles and the circadian cycle or circadian rhythm, which is a 24-hour cycle that the body goes through. And this is one of the biggest things that affects our health. You know, there's so many things and so many variables that go into health and vitality, or lack thereof, and they're all absolutely very important. But this is a really big one because we just simply are not getting enough sleep. When we're not getting enough sleep, we're not getting the repair and recovery that is absolutely necessary for your physiology to work right. To give you an idea of really how bad it is, you know, in 1910, the average adult slept anywhere between 10, 11, 12 hours a night. Today, the average adult gets less than 7. So, if you add that up over 365 days a year, we're at a 1,815 hours of sleep deficit. That's over 1,800 hours of cellular repair and neurological repair that is not happening. And so we wonder why we're so tired all the time. We wonder why we're so sick all the time. We wonder why our immune systems aren't working optimally. and this is a huge factor of why. Compile that with the fact that we're not getting enough nutrient-dense food in, and our body doesn't have the resources it needs to do its job. But even if it did, it simply doesn't have the time. It's no different than all of us dealing with our whirlwinds at work, and we've just got so much to do, and there's just not enough time in the day, and it can't get done. The body goes through a very similar frustrating pattern whenever it's trying to repair itself. We are simply not giving enough time to do that. So I drew this little graph out here which represents how it's supposed to work. I realize it may be kind of hard to see. So here I have just times of the day. So this is 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 10 p.m., 2 a.m., and 6 a.m. here. So this represents the day, or at least our waking hours of the day. So this red line here, represents a normal cortisol or stress hormone response as the day goes on. So when the sun comes up in the morning, it stimulates cortisol, and then cortisol usually is supposed to peak about mid-morning, around that 10 a.m. It's going to be really high, and if your physiology is optimal, that's when you're going to have the most energy. You're going to feel very alert. And then as the day goes on, that cortisol and the rest of your stress hormones will gradually come down. And then, when we are having optimal wind down time here, between 6 and 10 p.m., which means that we're dimming the lights, we're not doing things that are stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, like being on our computer or looking at our iPhones or television. Our body then begins to release neurotransmitters like melatonin, and growth in repair hormones start to come up, and then our body goes through this cycle of repair. So between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is when your body does its physical repair. Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. is when your body does the psychological or neurological repair. So it's not just any 8 hours, it's these 8 hours. Now the body can adjust a little bit, but it can't adjust drastically. You can't, and this is why professionals who do graveyard shifts, like nurses or people who work in plants, typically statistically are very unhealthy, and the vast majority of the reason why that is because of this. So you could get those 8 hours of sleep, somewhere up in here, and it's not the same, just because the body works on cycles just like the tide and the moon. And so if you miss it, you miss it. And this is huge because, you know, in our culture, you know, we get home from work and between the 6 and 10, and for some individuals, you know, 11, 12 p.m. is when we're unfortunately doing a lot of things that are very stimulating for the sympathetic nervous system. That's when we're watching TV. That's when we're doing things that are very stimulatory. And so we're missing out on a lot of this physical repair. You know, and we wonder why we have so many ailments and aches and pains is because we're just using and abusing our body, and then we're not ever giving it time to repair. And so, you know, unfortunately, this is how it should look, and then this is kind of how, unfortunately, it does look for us. Is we're way up here, right? We're overstimulated to begin with, and then we're drinking, you know, coffee throughout the day and soft drinks and food with lots of sugar. And anytime our blood sugar spikes, it's going to get a correlating cortisol spike in it as well. So unfortunately, our cortisol is just high, and even though it should be coming down here, we're still doing things that are stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, and it's still too high, and the next thing you know, we crash way down here. And so when all of these stress hormones are high, the body cannot shift over into that parasympathetic mode, which is our sleep and repair mode. And so this green line cannot be up if this cortisol line, if this red line is up. It's going to be down here. So unfortunately, it just doesn't happen. You know, we simply don't get the necessary repair, and then we wake up, and then it starts all over again. And so this one is a huge one. If you're not getting to bed on time, you know, you've got to start working towards that. Now, if you're an individual who goes to bed normally at midnight, you're not going to be able to just all of a sudden start going to bed, you know, at 9:30, 10 p.m. I would suggest that you back that up in half-hour increments. And on top of that, start reducing the stimulation when you get home. Okay, so you can't watch TV while you're trying to go to sleep, or you don't want to be laying in bed watching TV. You can't expect to be, you know, exposing yourself to this bright light and stimulation, which is going to increase your cortisol, and expect the body to be able to release neurotransmitters like melatonin, so that you can, you know, get the optimal repair. It's just not going to happen. So try doing things that are going to help wind you down and get your body physiologically shifting towards that parasympathetic nervous system, so that you get optimal sleep and repair. To tie all of this in, when you really think about what I call the 6 irrefutable components to creating a healthy lifestyle, when you really look at all of those components, things like, you know, breathing, hydration, exercise, nutrition, your sleep and your repair, your thought process, all 6 of these things make up that bigger picture of health and vitality. And you look at all the things that we've gone over, throughout all these different coaching videos, and we look at the levels of the stress that we have with each one, and some of them don't seem like they're that big a deal, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm not quite getting enough water intake. Well, that's a stress on the body. Not all of the food that I eat, is clean. Well, all of those, little bitty words that you can't pronounce on the label, and a little bit of added sugar here, a little bit of preservatives there in this meal, and then a little bit in the next meal, and in the next meal, and throughout that week and 365 days a year, all those little bitty stresses add up. Either not exercising at all, or not moving enough, or doing the wrong type of exercise, to where it's creating inflammation and pain and dysfunction in your biomechanics in your body. added with an inverted breathing pattern, added in with not getting enough water, or the water that you're drinking is toxic, added in with a lot of limbic emotional stress, too much work stress, too much stress at home, and then on top of all that, we're not getting enough sleep and repair. It's no wonder our culture is in the situation that we're in. The only physiological thing that can happen from that is disease and dysfunction. That is the only thing, and that's just science. When we have all of these stresses and no repair, and we're putting all the wrong stimulus, the only thing that can happen is disease. So as we start chipping away and decreasing our level of all of these different stressors that are causing stress physiologically, well, then we can begin to shift away from all of these chronic degenerative conditions that are plaguing our culture, and moving more into health and vitality, and ultimately realizing our potential of how healthy that we can be. And it works from the inside out. So as we work on all of these things and increase our health and vitality from the inside out by eating the right amount of foods that aren't toxic, drinking the right amount of water that's not toxic, breathing right, thinking right, moving right, and getting the sleep and the repair that we need, your body will naturally gravitate towards that homeostasis, and have a healthy immune system. Your body will naturally go to its ideal weight, and you will have a healthy body composition. You will not be too overweight or too underweight, and you'll be, a happy, healthy individual. So I hope this helps. I realize I kind of gave a brief explanation of this, but I'm trying to keep these videos short because I can get a little long-winded. And then we'll talk more about this throughout your program. And as always, if you have any questions, that's what we're here for. See you soon.